All right, I think we are now live. I am Drew Clifton with Pro Shop Academy, where I help at home tennis stringers turn their skill into a business, into an income. And tonight we're just going to do a Thursday night stringing session. If you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. If I don't see it, just leave it in the comments and I'll make sure to respond. So, welcome to the stringing session. I normally do expedites during the day, and then at the later in the day, I'll string the standard turnaround. Uh, I'll bring the standard turner do the standard turnaround at the end of the day. So today we're going to string a Wilson blade with Hyper G. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat or leave a comment, and I'm happy to respond. And basically, I just talk about what I'm doing. And I can talk about different stuff with the tennis stringing business. If you're looking to start a one at-home tennis stringing business yourself, you can get a tennis stringing business starter guide if you go to Pro Shop Academy. Has a checklist of everything you would need to get started. Always make sure when I mount the racket that 6 and 12 are just barely touching. All right, it's a 16 by 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not quite 9. A lot of people use their body to measure the strings. If you're 6 feet, you can just stretch out 6 feet. And then I also have I cut out 3 feet of a tape measure. Me, I always use the length of a standard 27-inch racket. If you're looking for 20 feet or about 20 and a half feet, you get down almost to the end of the grip. That should get you close to that for 16 mains. So that is how I do it. So we have our racket mounted, putting the two ends together. Yeah, and standard turnaround, you can charge for your business. Just always make sure to charge extra if you're doing it quickly, and then you can charge a bit less if it's something they don't need right away. So I always like to set the clamp. I pulled both strings here. I'm setting. I'm gonna back up. You need to back it up with a starting clamp because this first pull you need as much help as you can get. So now we pulled this one with the normal tension. Now we can do 3 on one side and then keep going on the other. You never want to do more than a few at a time. And this is kind of cool, the blade green with the Hyper G green. Cosmetically, I think it looks really cool. The second main is going to be the hardest one. Hardest one to clamp because, as you see, there's not a lot of room in that second main. I have my pull speed at the slowest speed. I have electronic constant pull, which if you're running a tennis string business would be ideal. But you could have a crank lockout. Just make sure when it pulls tension, you clamp it right away. But I've been liking the slowest pull speed. I used to only do it for natural gut. But I've been liking the slower pull speed just in general. A little too loose. You'll see some people mark their clamps. So this is a 16 gauge string, so you'll be able to see the 16 gauge, like know what to do. The only reason I don't do it just because sometimes rounded strings need a little bit different clamp than like Hyper G, which is a shaped string. So the only reason I don't do it, it's just pretty much just by feel. Cyber G feels more elastic today for for some reason. You notice it pulls and then it keeps pulling a little bit. Something you usually only see in elastic strings. So notice I'm just stringing one side and keeping the tension as even as possible. And if you're learning stringing, feel free to comment how things are going, or if you're starting your own tennis stringing business, feel free to comment how things are going. Happy to answer any questions. Been running my pro shop for almost 10 years now. It's crazy to think about, but yeah, so it's good. Oh, I like to do, since I'm here, I could just pull the other one, and now we're going to be even on each side, and I can just go two at a time on each side. So now tension's even. Hyper G, my pro shop's based in Dallas and or North Dallas, and Hyper G, at least for high school players, it's definitely the most popular string here in this area. If you have one that's popular where you're at, let me know. But it's by far, I think it's more popular than RPM Blast. I think it's more popular than Luxilon, ALU Power. I'm trying to think some of the other ones that are popular. Those are the big ones. Obviously, we're seeing a big growth in the Toro line strings, the restring strings, grapple snake. So so pro shop, it's interesting to see for sure what direction things go. In my next YouTube video, my long form, I'm going to talk about strings you can use in your pro shop or your at-home tennis stringing business that keeps costs low. So our goal, obviously, is at-home tennis stringers is to make as much money as we can while doing a great job for our customers. And there's certain strings I carry that I can charge a fair price for and still get some good margin. Like there's a few, I think Head makes some good ones. Head Sonic Pro is one that I found I can always get at a good price. I've heard the Head Links Tour is another good one at a fair price. The only thing with Links Tour, it's a little bit firm, so you got to be kind of has to be for the right person. I would say most women and most men too. It's probably a little too firm. Now we're not going to pull tension on this this last one just yet. I'm going to do the next one so they're even. And on this racket, it skips 8 and 8. With all, pretty much, I think all new rackets, you just look it up at Tennis Warehouse or Tennis Express. And it'll tell you which grommets to skip. Now we're stringing this one at 55, so on my machine, and if you have an electronic machine, there should be a knot button and it automatically raises it. I have it set to 10%. I'm going to pull the other one, make sure to raise it 10%. All right, so now what we teach in the tennis training business success system is Parnell knots all the way around. We want to use a grommet as close as possible that's not in the way. Notice I set the brake on the machine, so that way it gives me a little bit more, it's easier to work with because the machine's not moving on us. All right, back and forth. The reason why we raised the tension 10% is even as much as I rocked back and forth there, it's still giving up some tension, so we're trying to make up for that. Now I'm going to clip this Parnell knot fairly close to the frame. Parnell knot should be flush up against the frame, especially on a string like Hyper G where the poly can be a little bit sharp. And welcome everyone who's joining us. And yeah. Looking that knot. Alrighty. We're doing good. All right, so it's 19 crosses, so we don't need not full 9 lengths. We're going to go about 8.5. Should get us plenty for 19 crosses. It's a 98 head size, so yeah. 7, 8.5. Perfect. I always like to start 3 crosses down. That way it preserves the string as best as possible, so we're not pulling as much string across. That's what I would recommend if you're starting your own string business or learning how to string. It's a good way to string. Pulling enough to make sure I have room for the next 2 crosses above it and the tensioning knob. You'll see me as I string this, I'll use the push method and the pull method. Making sure we're not pulling straight across. This will be our top cross. Perfect, just enough. Use a Parnell pad to make sure it, we don't want to scratch the frame. So I'm going to put the starting clamp outside touching the frame. That way we can have 4 Parnell knots. Keep in mind, I haven't pulled the knot tension on this one yet, so we'll need to come back to it. But yeah, if you're starting your own tennis string business, feel free to in the chat or leave a comment how things are going, where you're at, how many rackets you usually do. Do you string for a team? Do you just string for your city? Feel free. I'd love to hear it. I'm gonna do the pull. Oops, I'm gonna do the pull method on this one. Making sure to not go on the other side of that mounting. There's a few things. There's a few things I've been experimenting with for my business. Been using Uber Connect to do pickups and drop-offs, and I've had quite a few customers who are okay with it. Basically, we just add on whatever it costs, and it's usually not too expensive, and that way they can just drop off and pick up right from their home. It's definitely something to consider. A lot of your customers may not want to pay that. They'd rather just drive it to you, which makes sense. But if someone's busy, it may be worth it just to have Uber Connect pick it up. At least I've had a few customers certainly take advantage of that. Can even drop off at their work. Doing my best to keep these crosses straight. We want to keep the crosses straight so we don't have to adjust it very much at the end. Some people use the finishing off all, like the flat all when at the end. Usually I can just use my hand and be fine. But yeah. If you are starting a tennis training business, let me know. Are you doing it on the side, on the weekend? I know one person does it. They're in college and they do it on the weekend, just Saturdays and Sundays, and they only do expedite, so it's a pretty good business for them. Racket. The crosses will always want a smiley face on you. Once you have your base of customers running your own tennis training business, it really just becomes a matter of scaling it, doing a good job for your current customers, and then uh, figuring out ways to expand it. As long as you're visible online and you do a good job, you should be able to have a good um, recurring customer base. It should provide good income for you. Um, the 80-20 rule is definitely true in a tennis training business. 20% of my customers are for sure 80% of the revenue. Oh, today I strung the V core for the first time, the new V core, which was cool. So that was kind of a nice treat. So I think they just got it from Tennis Warehouse, so I really enjoyed it. If you have any questions on business structure, obviously I'm not a tax expert or a tax professional, but that kind of threw me for a loop a bit at the beginning when to go, if it was worth it to get the LLC. If you start making money, you're pretty much a sole proprietor. You can get a DBA and call yourself a fun name, which is cool. But once you start taking money stringing tennis rackets, you're a sole proprietor. So you just need to make sure you track your income. Question I get sometimes is, should you do bulk discounts? I would recommend not doing it. It's actually one of the big mistakes I made in my early part of this business. I found myself working a long time for not that much money. And as a service business, it takes to string two rackets, it takes twice as long to string than one racket, obviously. So the marginal benefit of doing that isn't that great. So I would recommend having your price and sticking with it throughout. Just doing a good job. And then at the end of the day, some of the people just won't use you. It's not a big deal. My current business, I have a smaller group of customers, but it's a recurring business and a lot of expedites. So it's doing better numbers than at the beginning with less rackets, which is where we want to be. So there's certain people that will always try to find a less expensive option, and honestly, just have to let it go and stick to what you think is a fair price for your time and your skill. And then as far as your business goes, making sure whenever you get a racket, just always ask them if they would like a new overgrip. You can buy them in bulk to keep your costs low, and go from there. You can also do bumper guard replacements, expedites. Customization is a good idea where you just buy lead tape. Make sure you wash your hands after, but you buy lead tape and you can, someone says they need some customization, you can do that. Um, yeah, I think that's are all ways you can really bring value to the market. Doing my best to keep the crosses straight so we do a good job. Like I said, it's a recurring customer business, so we want this to string for this person again, hopefully. Do the pull method. And I actually go under the first cross. You can, for the first main, you can do either, but I used to do over, and I saw every stringers better than me. High level ones would always go under and then continue. And under actually is easier once you feed the first under. So you can do either, but I do recommend starting under. I think it's a little bit easier to weave. Yeah, and I use QuickBooks for the taxes, so spending a lot of this time to make sure everything taxes are in order. It's that time of year again. Also do some tennis coaching. I'm a PTR level 1 coach, so I kind of bring those together. Always it's a little tougher to weave towards the end. Now, is there a particular stringing machine you learned on? I'm always kind of curious. I've heard some good ones. Mine was a Gamma drop weight. That's how I learned how to string with the floating clamps. I just strung for myself at that time, but it's kind of how I learned kind of the ropes. It didn't have a stand. It was just had it on my counter. That's basically how I learned to string. Then I got the Gamma electronic constant pull. I think it's XLS. I think. And that was actually a great machine. I actually still have a version of that in my garage. Um, Always make sure to calibrate it. And if you're starting your stringing business, make sure you have a calibrator so you can always calibrate your machine. Making sure everything looks good. 2 more crosses, and hopefully we'll have this racket ready to play. Person's going to pick up tomorrow around lunchtime, so we should be in a good spot. If you want to go real quick, you'll see some people when they weave crosses hold the string in their hand. I don't like doing that on shaped polys like Hyper G because shaped polys a lot of the time will twist. So I kind of just let it fall to let it untwist. So there's no kinks in it, and it doesn't have that razor wire look. So that's why, if you notice, I'm not holding it. I'm just letting it fall. All right, we're at our last cross. I'm going to try to clip it to make it a little bit easier to work with. Now for our last cross, you want to pull all the string through and then just push down and then push up. Because if all this tension that's built up all the way, if we were to pull the whole string across after weaving it, it would look off. It would affect the string bed. It would kind of have a razor wire look, which we don't want, especially on this Hyper G. It would definitely do that. That's why you want to pull the string through and then pull the tension. Yeah, tomorrow on the agenda, I have 3 scheduled expedites. I have a few pickups, and then we'll see where the day goes. I may have a tennis lesson, so that is on the agenda running the shop tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, let me know if you're stringing tomorrow too. If you ever have an at-home stringing business, are Fridays busier days for you? I know Me, it's usually some people looking to get some rackets for the weekend. I just set the knot tension. It raises it 10%. Clamping as close to that grommet as we can while still giving us room to tie off. Tying our Parnell knot on the closest grommet. On the tie outs, you can release the base clamp first. That didn't take us too long at all, and this is why I'm such a big advocate of starting your own at-home tennis training business, because it's not too much time to get a decent return on your time, as far as your skilled wage goes. All right, I raised the now I raised it 10%. I'm gonna set the break here. You don't have to do this last part. I just always give it a little bit of a tug with the starting clamp just to make sure that tail is flush against it, but you don't have to do that. All right, I think this looks good where we shouldn't have to adjust too much of the strings after. A little bit on the outside, so this racket is ready to go. If I didn't answer your question, feel free to ask it in the comments. I'd be happy to respond. Again, I'm Drew Clifton of Pro Shop Academy, where we teach you how to string at a higher level and then turn that skill into income. Check us out at Pro Shop Academy. I have a free gift for you. It's a tennis string business starter checklist. So if you're interested in starting your own tennis string business, please get that checklist and you can have everything you need to start your business today. So I'll talk to you in a bit.